Thanks, Nicholas. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As I sort of look around the room and see the faces of investors, it often comes across my mind, well, what are people actually looking for in terms of a retail investor and a small junior exploration company like Talisman? And what, if I boil it, if I distill it down to the essence of what Talisman's about, we're an exploration company with large-scale exploration opportunities and discovery opportunities in New South Wales and South Australia, and we're significantly different from just about every other junior in that we have a reliable funding source, not only on our balance sheet, but also our iron ore royalty that comes out of the Pilbara of Western Australia. So we offer shareholders and owners a non-dilutionary opportunity for company-making discoveries. We have three assets: the Yarrandjeri project in the Macquarie Arc, the Durnings, and a number of other projects in the Lachlan Fold Belt. We have an entry-level asset in the Gawler Creighton of South Australia looking for iron oxide copper golds, and our Wonmunna iron ore royalty in Western Australia. Before we get into the description of the assets themselves, some background on the corporate. Talisman has been an ASX listed company for about 10 years now. We carry with us the DNA of Jubilee Mines, with the chair, Kerry Hermanis, directors Jeremy Kirkwood and Brian Dawes all being instrumental in Jubilee. And Jubilee was one of the great success stories of the resources industry in the last 30 or 40 years in Australia. Started with about a $50 million company, ended up discovering, building and operating the Cosmos project, sold it for $3.2 billion 10 years later to Glencore. The similarities are striking between Talisman and Jubilee. We have only, after 10 years, 188 million shares on issue. When Jubilee was sold, it had 188 million shares on issue. We have $6 million cash in the bank today, market cap of just under $40 million. And so we have been living off and operating within the iron ore royalty over this last 3 or 4 years, haven't issued any shares since 2021. Wonmunna, as I said, it's located in the Pilbara of Western Australia. It's an operation run by MinRes as part of what they call their Pilbara hub. They have 2 iron ore projects that feed a trucking operation and an export operation out of Port Hedland. The Pilbara hub did 10.4 million tonnes of iron ore last year. Its guidance from MinRes for this year is between 9 and 10 million tonnes, so very similar in size. Ore reserve last year was 57 million tonnes, so a little under 6 years of ore reserve. And behind that ore reserve is a significant resource, which MinRes will bring to account over this next 3 or 4 years to expand beyond the 6 years of mine life that it currently has. The royalty payments Talisman received last year from its royalty were $8.6 million, $2.3 million in the June quarter. Since then, iron ore prices have softened, so we're not expecting a repeat of $8.6 million this year, but we still believe it'll be a very healthy number. The exploration assets. So we're in the Lachlan Fold Belt in New South Wales, to the east of Cobar and to the north of Condobolin in the central west. We have a bit over 6,000 square kilometres of ground there. We've really only just started the exploration there after a COVID year and a very wet year in 22. Been on the ground there for about 18 months now, exploring in that southern half of that tenement shown on that picture. Had some success at Rip and Tear and Durnings, which I'll talk about a little bit more in detail in a moment or two. But of the 4 projects that we explored in these last 18 months, we've had 2 discoveries, so it's a reasonable strike rate at this point in time. This is Durnings, and Durnings represents a pretty standard approach to an exploration discovery. You have some historical high-grade intercepts shown there. Hole number 1 had 8 metres at 6.3 grams per tonne, and hole number 8, 32 metres at low grade with some base metals credits. And that initiates your interest in the area. And then what we did was we acquired a larger land package associated with the project, so we are now the dominant holder in that area. We have an operation to the north of us at a place called Mineral Hill, owned by Kingston Resources, but we are the dominant landholder in that whole belt. We use geophysics extensively on our exploration targeting. The picture you see here is gradient array IP, which is really good in this region for identifying near-surface sulphide mineralisation. And we've been drilling those sulphide mineralisation signals and came up with 2 discoveries in this last 12 months. We drilled 24 RC holes. The standouts were 6 metres at about 15% lead and zinc combined, 4 or 5 ounces of silver, a couple of grams of gold. Followed that up with another 7.4 metres of similar kinds of grades. And then in those holes, we drilled a bit deeper into an underlying geophysical anomaly, and that intersected 28 metres at 4 grams gold, about 1% copper, lower lead and zinc at about 4 to 5%, and about an ounce of silver. And we followed that up again with another 10 metre intersection at 8 grams gold. So we feel like we've found something that looks like it's got the grade and the extension to be able to turn into a mine at some point in time. We found a second zone in the northern part, just underneath that northern Durnings label there on the slide, that gave us another 4 metres at 12 grams gold. And importantly, when we drilled all those diamond holes, we did downhole EM, another geophysical technique, inside those holes, which is very good at seeing conductors away from the drill holes. I'll show you a couple of pictures of what those look like. So in cross-section in that centre panel, the intersections are typically 20 to 38 metres in drill hole, and their true width is somewhere in the 10 to 12 metre width range. But the blue slide or the blue panel on the right-hand side is the downhole conductors that we've found at the high-grade intersections that we've got in the drill holes. And those downhole conductors extend for about 150 metres away from the drill hole locations, which is the limit of how far that technique can see in downhole EM. So we feel like we know exactly where this high-grade mineralisation will be. The next phase of work is to drill those blue panels to see what grades we find in those particular locations. We're absolutely convinced that the downhole EM technique works. It has a long and successful history, so I don't think there's any doubt that we'll get some good intersections in this next round of work. A picture of some of the core at the bottom that runs 35% lead and zinc combined. It's the massive sulphide part, and that's the part of the mineralisation that you're able to see with the downhole EM technique. So we feel like we're in reasonable shape here. We'll be on the ground there sometime in September with the drill rig following this work up. The second discovery was a different style at a project called Rip and Tear. It's about 30 kilometres north of Durnings. In the first 3 holes, we got 208 metres of low-grade lead, 1.2%, and about 10 grams of silver. Third hole, we got another 105 metres, and we thought, okay, we're onto something significant here. It looks low grade, but it has some significant size to it. We drilled an additional 17 holes following those 3 holes up. We've found a number of other lenses of lead and silver mineralisation, but we're typically seeing that 1.5% lead, 10 grams of silver kind of grade, and big low-grade things are probably not our game. We'll look for a partner and one of the big guys to come in and assist us with the development of that. It's a sizable tenement holding, and we've only really assessed a modest part of it so far, but so far it looks like it's a big low-grade lead-silver SEDEX style development. Macquarie Arc. So Macquarie Arc's about 100 kilometres east of where we've been in the Lachlan so far. We picked up and we like the Macquarie Arc because it's the home for all the big porphyry copper projects in Australia. Porphyry coppers are the main producer of copper and gold around the world, so they're a good style to go and explore for. We picked up this project Yarranduri. It's had a little bit of work done on it by Newcrest about 5 or 6 years ago. It's an absolute classic looking porphyry style magnetic and gravity anomaly. So that's the kind of things that you're looking for when you're going and acquiring this. This happened to be vacant ground, so we pegged it. We've only owned it for about 2 months so far. We've signed our agreement for land access with the landholder. We've put our application for exploration work in with the department in New South Wales, and they're considering it at the moment. The latest update is they'll get back to us in the next week or two with their decision on us being able to explore on that. I'll show you a couple of comparisons with Australia's biggest and highest margin gold and copper mine, which is called Cadia, which is near Orange in New South Wales. So it's not quite at the scale of Cadia in the image, but this is the kind of thing that we are looking for. To give you an idea, Cadia's 50 million ounces of gold and it's coming up towards 10 million tonnes of copper in reserve in production. It's been in production for 20 years. Last year it produced 600,000 ounces of gold and it had negative all-in sustaining costs because the byproduct copper production paid for all the operating costs of the mine. So it's Australia's most profitable gold mine. They spat off just a lazy $1.8 billion worth of free cash flow last year, and Newmont bought it from Newcrest for $16 billion about 12 months ago. So if you find one of these things, they're absolutely cracking assets to have. Another comparison between Cadia and Yarranduri. If we find a quarter of a Cadia or a tenth of a Cadia, we'll be in very good shape. Our other non-New South Wales project is a project called Mabel Creek. It's in South Australia, in the very far northwestern corner of the Gawler IOCG. And IOCGs are iron oxide copper gold projects. The big ones in Australia are Olympic Dam, Carrapateena, Prominent Hill, all owned and run by BHP. The other players in that region are all the majors, the Rio Tintos, the FMGs of the world, all looking for those discovery-style deposits that can then be a significant component of their global copper production. We've completed all the magnetics that indicate that we are in the right region. We've just completed the gravity survey. We're in the process of processing that data to give ourselves some drill targets for there. The western side of that Gawler Craton, the cover is significantly shallower than it is on the eastern side. So as an example, Olympic Dam is under 400 metres of completely barren sediments. The cover in this western side of the Gawler is somewhere between 50 and 150 metres. So it's an area that a junior can do that is a really well-funded junior can have a legitimate go at finding one of these company-making deposits in an IOCG. So in summary, what I think we offer is a track record of discovery, development and operations of high-grade, modest-size operations that are really, really, really good assets to own for a junior. And we have the potential to discover company-making IOCG or copper-gold projects in both New South Wales and South Australia. Myself, Kerry Hermanis, the chair, and our assistant Jen will be at the booth for the next day or two. So if you have any further questions, happy to take those then. Thank you very much, Nicholas.